Today's guest is someone who brings the science of weather down to earth and into our daily lives. Angie Lassman is a certified broadcast meteorologist and environmental reporter with NBC News, where she helps shape climate coverage across the Today Show, MSNBC, and NBC News Now. Whether she's reporting live from hurricanes or unpacking the latest climate headlines, Angie is known for making complex topics accessible and urgent. Before joining NBC's national team, Angie spent 6 years in Miami with NBC6, where she launched the award-winning Climate Check series. Her reporting has earned her an International Telly Award, an Emmy nomination, and the American Meteorological Society's Excellence in Science Reporting Award. A Michigan native with degrees in meteorology from Florida Tech, Angie's career has spanned from tornado forecasting in Missouri to teaching emergency responders how to prepare for solar storms. She's also co-authored research on climate change adaptation and somehow finds time to be a passionate educator, adventurer, and advocate along the way. Angie, welcome to Unbottled.
What an amazing intro. Thank you so much for all the kind things you said about me and for having me. It's great to be here with you.
And all of it is true and totally earned.
Thank you.
I'm like fangirling right now.
You and me both.
Thank you. Okay, so let's just start out a little bit of your story.
Yeah.
You're a nationally recognized meteorologist now, but let's rewind. What first drew you to weather?
So I think curiosity. I think at the heart of any meteorologist is curiosity and a fascination for how things work, a fascination or an interest for science. And that is kind of how you sum it up for me. I was a very curious kid. I was interested in math and I was interested in science and I was good at all of those things.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I have a wonderful mom that kind of was like putting the pieces together for me behind the scenes.
Okay.
Not in like a pushy mom kind of way, but more so in a, hey, you like all of these different aspects of these topics. And I think that being a meteorologist is a career you could have. And these are the things that you would have to do to go and do it. I mean, it's crazy when I think about it now as an adult that she could pinpoint certain interests that I had and kind of open up the horizon for what that could mean for a career later in my life.
That's amazing because you went to college to study meteorology.
Yes.
So like you had that vision, that
totally
direction.
And I'm so grateful for that because I think a lot of times, you're going into college and you're like, I'm going to be undecided for your major. I think it was such a blessing to have kind of like an idea, a path, a vision, especially in a career like this where like time is of the essence. Like you want to get out of college and you want to get into, a small market TV station and get started so that you can work your way up and you can grow and end up in, for me, in a national market. So it was really, really kind of interesting to put all the pieces together of math and science and curiosity, but also adding in the communication piece.
Yeah.
To be honest, when I was a kid, I wanted to be on SNL. That was like my big dream.
Okay.
And then when I got a little older, I told my mom, but I'm not going to move to New York and like be struggling. Like I'm just going to be a news anchor. And she's like, Angie, you love math, you love science, you're interested in those things. Why don't you be a meteorologist? And it was as if that like a cartoon light bulb was over my head at that moment. And then I just I went for it. And like, I followed the path, I guess.
When I lived in East Lansing, Michigan, we were talking about the Michigan connection. I remember having tornado drills at school.
Yes.
I'm wondering if that played into your curiosity.
100%. I think you cannot live in the Midwest, and specifically for me, Michigan, and not experience so much weather. I mean, tornado drills, absolutely. You're like, what the heck is going on? And then, I had a tornado go through my backyard when I was young. Yeah. That led to some of my curiosity around it. You've got snowstorms. You've got heat waves. You've really got a whole bunch of things going on. And on top of it, the Great Lakes. If you want to look at something that influences weather and you're like, wait a minute, why does Grand Rapids get so much more snow than the other areas of Michigan that aren't downwind of the lake? You just start to kind of put the puzzle pieces together. And that, of course, influenced it.
It's like a microcosm, right?
It is.
It's like shrunk there to be a little bit more human scale.
Yes.
To start to understand these
Absolutely.
systems. That makes total sense. So yeah, you talked a little bit about your mom and how
Yeah.
she influenced your environmental perspective. What led you then to go down to Florida? And I'd love to hear as well, you spent 6 years reporting from Miami, one of the epicenters of climate impact. Was there a particular moment or story that changed how you thought about your work?
Yeah. So my first job actually out of college was in St. Joseph, Missouri. And it was the middle of nowhere. It was a really small market. It's kind of what everyone or the typical kind of pattern of how you start out in the TV industry is you go to a really small market and you make all the mistakes that you wouldn't want to make on a bigger network. Yeah. And then you kind of move up from there. So mine started out in a very agriculturally dominant place. And they, really weren't interested in hearing me talk about climate change in that location. And I kind of had a bit of a responsibility to do reporting. And I'm interested in environment. So I focused a lot on environmental reporting and climate change, but the audience wasn't really vibing with that. But they were a lot of farmers. Yeah. And so the weather was impacting them. So I kind of had this realization of, oh, wait, there are a lot of stories to tell in this arena in different ways that maybe impact people in ways that they don't even know is going to impact them. Yep. So that was kind of the spark for me. And then, as I mentioned, you move up in the TV industry. And so I ended up my next job in Miami. It was an incredible opportunity. I was really grateful for it. But talk about going from, Tornado Alley, where people's livelihoods are dependent or very dependent on agriculture, to a place where, is like you said, the epicenter of a lot of climate issues. And I got to see a lot of it firsthand. So it was a really incredible experience to be able to forecast in a place that has tropical weather. Every day you've got thunderstorms in the summer. You've got sunny day flooding, all of these things that are part of the daily life there. And I think for me, it kind of opened my eyes to not just that spark that I saw in St. Joseph, Missouri of oh, there's stories to be told, but these stories have to be told. And this issue is already impacting people and it's rearranging how they live their daily lives. Yep. So it expanded, I guess, my storytelling, and it made me a way better reporter. It made me a way better meteorologist. I learned how to communicate, a lot better just from experiencing the day-to-day kind of life that people have to deal with when it comes to climate and just regular weather. It's an impactful place to live.
Yeah, incredible. Was there something that happened that really changed how you thought about it? I don't know, or maybe it was several little things along the way, but do you have one example?
I think, of course, several little things influenced it. I have a couple things that probably come to mind. The first is I sent my station sent me to Australia to cover the bushfires in 2019 into 2020. And I think you ask any reporter that's gone to really devastating situations, and it's really hard to take. Any situation that is breaking news that is harming human life is really difficult to kind of grapple with on the backside of telling the story and finishing your job. But that for me was eye-opening. I saw all different parts of how it touched people's lives. Of course, economically, which a lot of people care about. Yeah. Obviously, but then the wildlife aspect, we're talking to teams that had gone in and rescued the one pocket of koalas in the Blue Ridge Mountains that, this is going to sound really crazy, that didn't have chlamydia, but that's a big problem in in koala, reproduction and keeping koalas as a species that we have in the world. Yeah. And so you saw how it affected the coral reefs. It just spanned so many different topics and so many people's lives were touched by it. And that it was, of course, left a lasting impression on me. And I created a really cool kind of mini documentary on it that I'm super proud of.
What's it called?
It's called Unprecedented, which is kind of ironic because that was early 2020. And then suddenly unprecedented, the word is used for everything we do since then.
Did
I manifest this?
Yeah,
but
amazing.
It was really great. And then on top of that, I covered so many hurricanes. I was on the West Coast for Hurricane Ian. And all of that kind of stuff is just, again, it's hard to believe and hard to see, but then it just makes it so much more real that the stories that we're telling are so important and need to be told.
Right. And it's immediate.
Yes.
This is impacting people today.
Exactly.
This isn't a future boogeyman.
Absolutely. I think that's a huge misconception people have that like, oh, okay, that's a problem our grandkids will deal with, or like our great grandkids or even farther away. And it's like, well, no, actually, like that's happening now.
It's wild.
It is.
What was it like getting the call to move to New York and join NBC? You know, big leap, bigger platform.
Yeah. I mean, I think, don't listen to this, Mom, but like a lot of expletives at first. When I first found out, I couldn't believe it. It was a dream job. You know, my whole, like since I was young, when I kind of realized this is what I wanted to do, the Today Show was where I wanted to do it. And so it's incredibly shocking that this is my real life. I still think that a lot. It's like truly pinch me. But even more, it's like, okay, that's really cool. I started in this smaller market. I like did what I needed to do in that community. And then I went to Miami, a little bigger market. I did that. And now to have a national platform that I get to do a really fun and incredible job every single day and kind of tell important stories and give people their daily forecast. That's just like, I don't know. If you would have told 10-year-old Angie, she'd be like, what?
Yeah.
She wouldn't believe it. Yeah. She'd be really excited.
I'm doing something right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. So you talked a little bit about this, you know, reporting the daily weather and then also this kind of bigger trend of climate. So let's clear that up.
Yeah.
What is the difference between weather and
climate?
my
gosh. This is like the question people ask me at dinner parties, or the question, maybe it's not even a question. It's like the common thing is like, well, it was so cold today. So how can it be climate change? And it's like, well, there's two different things. The weather is what's happening day to day. And the climate, simply put, is what's happening over long-term trends. So like for me to simply say it sometimes to like my relatives that are still confused about this, I'm like, the weather is your mood and the climate is your personality. Like your personality is long-term. Like that is who you are on a deeper level. But you might wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm grumpy today. But like, generally speaking, you're an upbeat person. So like, that's the same as weather and climate. There is a difference. So if it's cold one day, it doesn't necessarily mean that our global temperatures are not warming.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, what we're seeing, right, is like more extreme.
Yes.
I'm wondering if, you know, we used to hear previously, okay, global warming.
Yeah.
But now we're saying climate change.
Yeah.
Why? What is that difference?
Yeah.
Why has that language evolved? And then what is the science telling us?
Right. So I think the language has evolved for a couple of reasons. In my opinion, it's evolved because we need people to understand that it's more than just temperatures going up. Yes, of course, that is, you know, greenhouse gas emissions from humans are causing the increased global temperatures, but that has all these ripple effects. So when you say global warming, it doesn't encompass the fact that, you know, you can see those increasing temperatures cause ocean acidification, or perhaps you see, you know, sea level rise or more extreme rainfall. There's a lot of other things that are involved with this change that we're seeing around our globe. And so I think climate change kind of has an all-encompassing, it's all-encompassing, I guess.
Yep.
And it's required for us to change it so people can understand that, I suppose. And it just includes more. And I think the science is saying that it's happening. This year, 2025 is expected to be either the second or third warmest on record. And, you know, you look back over the past little over a decade, and all of the years on that list in the top 10 are from that time period. So I think it's very clear that there is scientific consensus that this is happening, and we have all of these, you know, cascading impacts from our temperatures rising due to mainly human-caused climate change and emissions.
And extending the analogy that you used before, which I love, it's like, okay, you're usually upbeat, but today you woke up grumpy.
Yeah.
But then you have several months where you are waking up grumpy.
Yeah.
Right? That might be the reason to say, okay, this isn't just me temperamentally and temporarily being in a bad mood.
Right.
This is maybe my personality is changing.
Yeah.
Maybe I am having mood disorder.
Right.
I need to figure out what the root cause is of that.
And you would go to a doctor and you would talk to a doctor about it, which is an expert. And then if the expert said, this is how you can, you know, adapt, or this is how you can fix this, for lack of a better word, then most people would trust the expert opinion.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where things struggle these days, is we have so much information overload, and it's, even the experts are struggling to communicate kind of what's happening. And there's so much misinformation around this topic,
right,
that it's a big challenge.
So, yeah, why do you think climate change has become such a polarizing topic?
I think about this a lot because at the root of it, it's like, don't we all want to have a great livable planet? Yes. I think that is, if you asked any person on the street, they want clean air and they want clean water and they want, survivable temperatures and all of these things. Yes, I think that's just human nature to have an environment that is suitable for them to live in. But I think there's so many other aspects that come into play with this. And, just on like a really small level, everyone experiences weather. So I think literally people think they're experts. So like, yes, I know that it's part of everyone's day-to-day lives. So I think if you in your day-to-day life are like, I haven't seen any differences, and you maybe don't have a trusted source of information, and maybe another source of information is giving you examples of conflicting information, it can be really hard to kind of decipher, well, I don't feel anything different. Oh, okay, the polar bears are warm, like whatever. I think if it doesn't relate to people's day-to-day life, then it can be really hard for them to accept or want to make a change. Right. And I think for a long time, the way that we kind of communicated this was not the best. And scientists have to be better at it, to be perfectly honest. I think there's so often where scientific information or scientists in specific fields aren't communicating it in a way that the average person can digest or understand or even regurgitate to the person down the block that they run into on their walk and bring up the same topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to quickly plug an organization, a nonprofit that I was on the board of called the Metcalf Institute out of the University of Rhode Island. And they do science communication training for scientists.
Yeah.
And that's the core topic that they were struggling with. It's how do you teach people who are doing incredible, complicated, groundbreaking work, right? They spend their days in the labs and gathering data in the field. But at the end of the day, what they're studying might be complicated, but the other half of the job is you have to be able to break it down.
Yes.
And share with the world why this matters.
Yes.
And make it personable to the individual.
Exactly. And I think for me specifically, because we can all fall into this pattern. It's like, well, what? This is what the data says. Okay, well, Joe down the street doesn't care what the data says. I need to be able to explain to him how this is going to impact his wallet. How maybe will this impact his kids? What is this going to do to his lawn he cares so much about? Right. Like, there has to be these kind of takeaway things, especially economically, I think makes a big difference. But there has to be these takeaway things that the average person thinks, okay, yeah, that matters to me. And like, maybe that matters to my kids, or that matters
it's going
to
to impact
the location
what I care about.
That I live in.
Yeah. My community.
Yes.
My home.
Exactly.
And do you think there's a trust issue? And if so, are there things we can be doing to rebuild that trust?
I mean, I think there probably is a trust issue. I think just in general, we have so much information thrown at us from all these different sources, which is incredible and powerful, and like has really created this dynamic for people to be able to find great information and learn things and be their own advocates in, I think, many topics. I think what is hard is when you kind of have to be able to decipher if the information you're getting is a trustworthy source. And I think that has become extremely difficult in recent years. And I think, of course, people have opinions about all sorts of platforms that they get information on. So yeah, I think there is a trust issue. How do we combat that? I don't know, because even like the National Weather Service, great organization, well trusted. I'm sure you could find somebody that has something to complain about there. Like, I think people need to learn how to do their own research.
Yeah.
I think the trust thing is really hard. And I hope that especially, if you look into someone's background and you see that they have committed 10 years of their life and research to, global temperatures, that you could say, okay, I do trust this. They work for a trusted organization.
Right.
Yeah. You gotta put in a little effort, I think.
Yeah. And also those people don't necessarily have a horse in the race, right? Like they're not going, I think that's another one, right? Is understanding what are people's incentives, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
You don't benefit from scary climate reporting.
Right. No, I actually would rather tell good, happy stories, to be honest. But we tell the story that is out there. So yes, to your point, there's no benefit to we're not making things up. There's data, there's sources, there's fact checking that goes on. And, I think that it's important that you know where you're getting your information from and that they are also doing those same things.
Yep, absolutely. Are there other resources that you would recommend people listen to, go to in terms of reliable information on climate and weather, other than obviously coming
NBC,
to listen to you?
number one, yes. But of course, I mentioned the National Weather Service. I think NOAA, also a great resource. One of my favorite kind of organizations that has really done a great job of making information digestible and helping to kind of coordinate patterns and trends so that the average person can understand them is Climate Central. They're a great organization that kind of, you can go to their website, you can see, you can type in any question and kind of get an answer to, how many nights are warmer, or what's the average temperature increase in warm nights in my city of Miami. And it'll pop out some information for you. So they have a great sea level rise graphic. So there's a lot of good information that they have. And again, I stress that it is super digestible. I think I send people there all the time that are looking for more information. NASA has a good little kind of page if you want some kind of additional information on climate change and how they do their data collection and all that kind of stuff. All of those places are really trusted sources that you can go to.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm going to check out Climate Central.
By the way, your local meteorologist, if you're, I know I'm national, working for the network, but your local meteorologists are living in the same community that you are. And they are understanding the struggles or the triumphs of whatever that kind of specific area has. They are experts in that specific area. So they are a great source to kind of go to. And a lot of times you can DM them. You can find them on social media and ask them a question. I answer questions all the time for people.
Amazing.
Don't send a cloud picture.
DM too much.
You can find me on Instagram.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah. Local.
Why not?
Yeah. People
and for some
are
people,
trained.
That is the closest scientist that they have in their life. So why not?
Right. I think also in terms of science, right? What is the scientific consensus on what's driving climate change? You've talked a little bit about that. What are the key mechanisms?
Yeah.
So that when people start to try to put this very complex system together, right, they can really identify, okay, I noticed that this is a big change that happened.
Right.
And this therefore has led to X has led to Y.
Yes, exactly. I think that without a doubt, we can say greenhouse gas emissions that are human caused. So scientists like to call it
CO2.
Yes, exactly.
And NH4 methane.
Yes. All of those come from multiple sources. So the car that you drive every day. Factories that are producing things for you. There are so many aspects of our day-to-day life that are dependent on these fuels, but there are also other options. Renewables are on the up and up. They are, of course, implemented in other places more than some, but the consensus is that we are, as humans, anthropogenic is what we call that, causing increased global temperatures. And there's a lot of data behind it to kind of reconfirm that I already mentioned, but it's hard to argue with 10 kind of top 10 years of warmest temperatures happening in the last little over a decade, since 2014. I think that's a really hard kind of fact to argue, but we're also seeing kind of impacts in other ways that are more tangible to people's day-to-day lives, like heavier rain events and rapid intensification from hurricanes and, increased global temperature, increased sea surface temperatures. Yeah. So I think the consensus, plainly, simply, is that humans are impacting the rise in our global temperature.
And we then have power.
Yeah, of course.
To change.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
And I think this is the hardest part for me, like going into whenever anybody finds out I'm a meteorologist, there's like a couple questions that people ask. Like first is like, oh my God, how hard is the green screen? And like the second is like, well, what can I even do to like, okay, if climate change is happening, like what can I even do? Like I'm one person. And I don't really like that sentiment because it's like, yeah, you're one person, but that matters. Like, and your one choice has a ripple down effect. And someone else, if everyone thought like that, then we would never change anything. Right. And I think humans have a really wonderful way of collectively coming together and doing things when we want to. I mean, if you look at like the Great Lakes, if you look at the ozone layer, like all of these things, we kind of pivoted and decided, oh, wait, we need to make some changes to make this, to improve this or to keep this from getting worse.
Absolutely.
So we have power individually, whether it's if we choose how we, our diet, or we choose our energy consumption, if we change patterns in those ways, like, I think there is the ability for people to make a difference.
Yeah. And I also practice in my own life the idea, like taking that concept that you mentioned of like, but I'm only one person. You can't expect others to change until you have changed.
Totally.
But once you do it, you're like, oh, anybody can do it.
Yes.
Right? Like there's actually power in flipping that around and saying, okay, I'm one person. Let me try.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly put. And one of the things that I think about a lot these days is we have this whole new genre of a job called influencing. And like, we have seen how advertising on one person's singular platform can change a whole business. Like we have seen the ripple effect of like one, it could be anything. An influencer says one thing about a makeup product, that product is sold out for 6 months. Like, so that just says that like even, word of mouth and like you changing your way and telling your best friend that you decided, oh, I'm actually going to bike to work on Thursdays instead of taking my car. I know it feels small, but well, that's one less car on the road. Like it does matter. It's not, null and void. And I don't think all hope is lost.
I agree. I love that. Back in 2023, you reported on a 2022 UN climate report suggesting parts of the southern U.S. could become less suitable for human life by 2070. What does the latest science say, and how will rising temperatures impact Americans?
So I don't know the latest UN report off the top of my head, but I think nothing has changed all that much in the way that we know that extreme heat is a very big concern for people moving forward. It's one of the things that is the deadliest for when it comes to climate. And I think it's almost like a silent killer. And we know that there will be, areas of the globe as a whole that will have temperatures that are not suitable for growing the same things that they're growing right now. So agriculturally, economically, of course, that has impacts. But then living in certain places, I found it really interesting when I lived in Miami, when people initially would say, this, the temperatures are going to be it's going to be really difficult to live here one day. And I just kept thinking, air conditioning and like, we're going to figure out a way. But the fact of the matter is there is a large population of this country that does not have a way to cool down. So in Miami specifically, there is a large chunk of that community that goes to a labor-intensive job. They go to the bus stop. They wait in the heat. They get on a bus with maybe air conditioning. Either way, that's however long it takes. They go and they work in a labor-intensive job, and then they go home to a home without air conditioning. Right. And that means that your body is never cooling down. And then you go and do it the same day. So, or all over again the next day. So there is just this really big concern for people's ability to adapt that don't have the means. Yes, sure. There will be people that can turn up their AC and, drive in their AC car to wherever their job is that is AC. But I think there's a large part of, this country that doesn't have the means or the resources to do those things.
Yep, absolutely.
And again, it's one of those things that it's not like, oh, a hurricane is coming, I need to board up my windows. It is one of those things where you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little off. Oh, I didn't like, and a lot of times your responsibilities don't stop when that weather is happening. There will be cooling centers and stuff like that open up, but people are still going to work. If a hurricane is making landfall and your life is in danger because of that, most people are not going to work. You're off the roads, you're staying home. So there's this concern that I think extreme heat poses for, for
the average
person.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you seeing trends already of climate migration? And maybe you can explain what that is and what that might mean for cities, regions, and infrastructure.
Yeah, this is a really fascinating topic to me. I have like some personal experience with this because I have a family home on the west coast of Florida that has just been time and time again impacted by tropical systems. And the eye-opening aspect of how difficult it is for people to get insurance, to pay for things, for people to, get the resources they need to fix things, for like all of these things. And that's like, that's not my mom's primary residence or anything, but it just goes to show the difficulty of kind of like how you navigate things in a community when there is a disaster. So are we seeing climate migration already? I think the answer is probably simply yes. I don't think we have seen big swaths of the country kind of, people moving out completely.
Yep.
But I think there's, people like, for example, in the Keys when they were damaged by Irma that are like, okay, I actually don't want to rebuild in this same place, which is kind of like how we felt on the west coast of Florida. It's like, well, what are our options here?
Right.
But once
and
again,
insurance won't.
If insurance isn't covering it, what means do you have to migrate? That's the other kind of difficulty that I think we're going to see. But there's people that move from, California wildfire impacts to now you move to Colorado and you have wildfire impacts. Or, I find this really fascinating aspect of moving from one threat to another threat. So it's like, I don't want to deal with hurricanes in Florida, so I'm going to move to Kentucky. And now we know that there's a shifting tornado alley because of increased global temperatures. And now you live somewhere where there's like, tornado outbreaks. So like, we know Asheville is another great example of this. It's like, oh, I moved from, again, like, I don't want to deal with sea level rise in Florida, but now I have insane flooding happening in a place that I thought was climate resilient. So I think we are, going to see people kind of considering that when deciding where to purchase, a home or where to set up their lives long term. But it's a lot harder than I think
and it's changing.
And it's
continually.
Yeah.
And faster than we are
definitely
accustomed to. Yeah. Chicago, I read recently, Chicago, we like to say, oh, we're going to be one of the safest places when climate change hits. I mean, there's this fear. We have the Chicago River, which we changed the direction of it. The city changed the direction.
Yeah.
So it would take the sewage away from the lake, which is where we get our drinking water.
Right.
And there's fears that the flow of water the height is going to shift. And now all our sewage water will go into our drinking water.
Oh gosh. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of the things too. We've seen kind of similar things with the Everglades also, where they changed kind of some of the dynamics of how the Everglades operate. And then it's like, well, 30 years down the line, how is this impacting algal blooms? Like you don't realize the repercussions that happen. And I mean,
the ability to plan then.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what gives you hope or helps you overcome apathy coming from that kind of big, overwhelming conversation?
Yeah, I think what gives me hope is that there are things for us to do. And, I am an optimist at heart. I live my life with the glass half full. And I don't think that there's any other way to approach this topic. I think that It's so much easier to feel paralyzed by what's happening if you look at all the negatives. But there are some really innovative people out there that are trying to make a difference. And I think we have generations that, are up and coming and going to college and even are younger than that care about this topic. And I think, more than half of people in this country care about climate change and something being done about it. So I think that alone gives me hope. But then you add on the fact that we have innovation. We know that there's, technology will advance and people, specifically young people, care enough to kind of try and make a difference and keep the effort going. So I think, I'm not going to start thinking that all is lost because it's not.
It's not. And if you think all is lost and you give up, then it is lost.
Of course, because then you're not putting effort towards it. You're just accepting the fate. And you have a chance to change your fate if you are, at least trying to do something to
I love that.
To adapt.
This is great energy. I'm going to bottle this, take it back with me to Chicago. So we're entering our rapid fire section. So I'll just shoot some of these over your way.
Okay.
What's the coolest weather phenomenon you've ever experienced in real life?
I think I experienced, this is cool, a double rainbow in Hawaii, but probably like weather. Being where a hurricane is making landfall is pretty crazy. Like
that's wild.
That is like, as a meteorologist, I never want people to be, I do not get excited over kind of like crazy weather happening because I know that it's affecting people, like real people. But, if I'm there and it's happening, I'm like, whoa, this is pretty insane to know what's happening via a textbook and then to actually experience it where you are.
Right. And probably to have seen how it was all the pieces were coming together.
Yeah. Honestly, sunny day flooding is also a very odd thing to experience because you're like, oh, it's sunny, but, sea level rise is causing floods inland. Like that is a weird concept for people to kind of grapple with. And I always found it fascinating too.
Right. Wild. If we didn't have science, right, you'd be like, the gods are mad at us today.
This is why they thought that back in the day.
What makes for the perfect on-air weather dress?
Oh, interesting question. I think whatever you're comfortable in. For me, it's like, I kind of want to say pockets, but like.
Oh, I love that.
Whatever is, a good color, a good like. I stand. So I just had this kind of funny conversation with one of my co-anchors today. She's Laura Jarrett. She's an anchor for Saturday Today. And she wore this great sweater. And I'm like, I don't look good in sweaters on air. And she's like, it's because you're standing. And it's so true. So like you just got to test out the vibe sometimes. And there are a lot of misses. And my mom will call and be like, that dress was a miss. But she also will be like, that dress was a hit, or those pants really worked on TV. So like,
I love that.
I've got a different vibe every day. So the answer is like literally whatever. I wake up and like open my eyes and I'm like, oh, okay, this color is speaking to me today.
Well, I'm glad I'm sitting with my sweater.
Right,
it's good to know. This worked out. Where should people get their local forecast? Since we know you're Apple Weather's #1 hater.
I know, I am. This is like a callback to my Instagram bio because I have that in there. Because so often, let me just defend my statement there for a second. Everyone will be like, you said the weather was going to be, you said it was going to rain and it didn't. And I'm like, I don't think I said it was going to rain. Where did you get your information? And every time people are upset about the weather, it's come from Apple Weather. Yes. And I know it's convenient. And I know that sometimes that's all we're going to be able to access in certain circumstances. But I really fully believe that like the best way to get accurate weather is from either me, you can find me, or if you don't see me on TV, then your local meteorologist, an NBC local. You can always go to their website and they will have actual weather forecasting that is, of course, using data from computer models, which is where Apple and, all of those kind of apps come from. But then they also have a human touch. So you have somebody that's, probably been working in the market for 10 years that are saying, oh, okay, this seems a little off, and adding the human touch and doing the forecasting for it. So it's much more accurate. And if all else fails, you can always go to the National Weather Service and get your forecast from them. They have, you put in your city, same kind of thing. Yeah. weather.gov, and you'll get a very accurate forecast.
It's true. When I get mad about the weather forecast, it is because Apple has told me that in the next hour, something's going to happen.
Yeah. I know.
It didn't happen.
I get a lot of complaints. Trust me. This is why I have a bone to pick with Apple Weather. I would love to, make some improvements there.
Yeah,
so
call her up.
Easily use it. But it's, again, you can get your NBC New York has a great weather app that you just click on. It'll give you the temperatures. It'll give you the rain chances. It's good. They do a great job.
All right.
Now you know.
Right there. Okay, finish this sentence. The most misunderstood thing about climate change is
that the most misunderstood thing about climate change is that it is happening in a faraway time. That it is not happening to us now. That it is only impacting polar bears. And to add to that I can't do anything about it. I think all three of those things are the common misconceptions that I think I battle, that my friends, family, people I come across, viewers say to me. And they are just that, misconceptions.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm curious then, to simplify for everybody, right? There are easy things that you can do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to rattle off 2-3 things that someone can implement, going home tonight or starting tomorrow morning.
I mean, being mindful of your energy consumption. I'm not telling you to walk around in the dark of your house, but turn off the lights. Maybe look at your light bulbs and what kind of light bulbs you're using. Are they LED? You can, of course, change your dietary habits one day a week. If you, I'm not telling you have to become a vegetarian, but one day a week, if you reduce meat consumption,
just eat more plants.
That matters. All of those little things make a big impact. And of course, transportation is another easy one. Figuring out ways to get more reusable items in your life versus, this consumerism kind of quick turnover of stuff that we see with plastic and all other kinds of stuff that we purchase and then is in a landfill. All of that makes a difference.
Huge. All right. So where can listeners follow you for fit checks and accurate weather insights?
Yes, I do have it all on my social media. You'll see me out in New York City. You'll see me kind of bothering my coworkers and, of course, weather, some outfit checks. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, all under the username Angie Lassman. And, I post every single day.
Amazing. I got to learn from that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
This is incredible. You shed so much light and you really help break things down in a way that's easy, enjoyable, and hopefully everyone here will be able to, take some of those tips, and tomorrow morning
I'll be there.
Start working on it. Thank you. Thanks so
for having
much.
me.
Thanks for listening to Unbottled. If this episode got you thinking about plastic, systems change, or how we build a better future, don't just be a listener, be an owner. Kadea is raising a community round on WeFunder, and that means you can invest as little as $100 and help us bring closed-loop beverage systems to more people in more places. Because real change doesn't happen alone, and the future of hydration needs all of us. Learn more and join our investor community at wefunder.com/Kadea. That's Kadeya. The link is also in the show notes. Let's build it together.